Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review, please and thank you. So excited to be doing stand-up. I am going to be out in Vegas this weekend with Comedians of the Compound. We'll be doing 4 shows at the Plaza Hotel, the Comedy Works Theater out there. And then I'll be in Texas the following weekend, September 17th and 18th, headlining 4 shows at Hyenas in Dallas. Can't wait to get back to Texas, see my Texas people, see some people I missed last time I was there, which was February during the Great Blackout and all the snow. So I'm excited to go back there. And then I will be in Jersey, October 16th, Lakewood, New Jersey. Comedians of the Compound will be doing a stadium show. I think it's the Blue Claw Stadium out there. And then I'll be heading to California. Oh boy, October 22nd and 23rd. I'll be doing 4 shows at the Broadway Comedy Club West in Santa Monica with Sam Tripoli and Bridget Phetasy. Love those guys. This is like a dream team California scenario for me. So I'm really excited to get out there. So yeah, get tickets at ChrissieMayr.com, my website. And a quick shout out to a couple of our sponsors for which this podcast would not be possible without. We all know dating apps are terrible. There are these superficial face swiping apps. There are these quote unquote expert matching apps. Both of them usually waste your time. The solution is values-based matching. If you're a conservative, things probably aren't going to work out with someone who's a total lefty and vice versa. Same with religion, lifestyle, how to raise your kids, other core values. Sure, somebody could sort of like gradually change to meet you where you are, but why not just meet somebody who shares your values off the bat? Drome is a free new values-based dating app. You pick your deal breakers and deal makers. There are no experts or match percentages. You don't have to addictively check the app, although maybe you still might, because they have control of our brains. No, as soon as someone matches your deal breakers and deal makers and you match theirs, you get a notification. Drome is also video only for more human interaction. So go to drome.date/CMP in your phone's browser, click the iOS or Google button to install, and use the invite code CMP to sign up. If you're already matched up, if you're already with the love of your life, tell your sad single friends then, okay? And get your partner to tell theirs. Or if your relationship's hanging on by a thread, log on a little early. Just kidding. It's DROM.date/CMP. Design and meet your perfect match. And it's free to use. It's free, guys. Why not give it a whirl? Also, Cushy Dreams. Go to cushydreams.com, KUSHY dreams.com. At the checkout, use promo code CMP to get 20% off every order. It's high quality CBD. It's going to help. It helped me with my anxiety big time. I think it will help you too. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. I really love the pre-rolls, but they also come in these tins. There's different indica sativa blends like relax, dream, create, energy, hustle. So if you want to be a little bit more up, a little bit more down, relaxed, Cushy Dreams has you covered, boys and girls. Go to cushydreams.com right now, KUSHY dreams.com, and use promo code CMP at checkout to get 20% off. Okay. Without further ado, so excited to have her back on the pod. She is the one-man band of TimCast IRL. She is the lone button pusher. She is the lady that makes it all happen. She's one of my favorites. One of the probably best and favorite episodes I've had of this podcast so far. Lydia Smith, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me back, Chrissy. I'm really glad to be back. I am the one-man band. People call me the tech, but I was thinking about it and I was like, no, I'm the whole production team for TimCast IRL. I invite the guests, so make sure they get there. I push all the buttons. I give them snacks. It's a very fulfilling job, but it's busy.
Snacks are such a key part of that, you know.
I give them uppers. I give them downers. I give them or alcohol. It's great.
What do you need? Where are your chemicals at? What can we tweak?
Yeah. So people will come in and they're nervous, and I'm like, well, here's a little whiskey, or they'll come in and they're tired, and I'm like, well, here's a little caffeine. I mean, you gotta meet people where they're at so they have a great show. So, we have fun over at TimCast IRL. Thank you for having me back. I really appreciate it.
Of course, Lydia, the last time you were on, I really think it was one of the most popular episodes I've ever had. Even like the clips, like people, and I was like, was Lydia in the news recently? everything was like, it was the episode and like one or two of the clips, just simply like on fire, a ton of views. And I was like, I wonder if just Lydia doesn't do a lot of interviews, or if I just got really lucky, or maybe you just have so many simps that you don't know about.
I hope not. I hope that's not the case. I tell people not to simp for anyone, and I think that's pretty solid advice, right? I don't like the idea of simping. I don't know. I'm already too much of a downer, but I don't like the idea of simping because I don't like the idea of giving somebody else control over your like emotions and your feelings and stuff. So I'm like, nah, don't simp. Don't simp for anybody.
Do you think that simps like, and what's the difference between like a simp and a fan? Because I'll check through Twitter a lot, and then I'm like, oh, are these simps? Are these fans? And even people love to kind of shit on simps, but aren't they just fans plus sexual attraction? Like, what is?
Yeah, I would say they're fans that are a little bit over the top, and there's a little bit of unrequited love in there, which is kind of sad. I'm like, go out in the real world and find some real person to talk to, because I would love to be there for everyone all the time, but no one person can do that. So it's like, yeah, do your thing in real life and you'll feel a lot better.
I'm all for showing your support for people you like on the internet, and whether that's financial, emotional, whatever, just engagement on social media. But if it's getting to a point where that is taking away from you maybe finding a good person in real life to partner up with, well, then that's when maybe you should take a look at it. Not like I'm telling anybody what to do, but like I always just think of like, I wonder if guys more fall prey to this, because if they're just, subscribing to, say, like a lot of girls on OnlyFans, and that's the thing. And I can understand, because like girls the successful ones are very good at this. Plus engagement is part of OnlyFans.
Right.
I understand how they get to feel like, oh, I have almost a relationship going with these girls, and it's time, it's hours. And if that takes away finding something real, someone who's going to be there for you, then that's a little sad almost.
It is really sad. I find OnlyFans to be very much a trap, because it lets people think that they have a relationship with the people they pay money to. And the fact of the matter is that if you're paying someone money for their time, and I know you can split hairs and be like, well, you give women whatever, you take them on dates, but it's not the same. And I think we all know it. I feel like if you're giving somebody money for their time and attention, that's not a real relationship. And you should find someone out in the meat space to actually talk to, because online is not real life, thankfully.
As your popularity has grown, have you found more guys in your DMs, or even girls in your DMs, like people trying to shoot their shot, dick pics?
No, I've actually been really lucky. So first of all, the internet has been really kind to me. Sorry, I'm trying to get my computer just right. The internet has been really kind to me. I haven't gotten any weird messages. I haven't gotten too many weird or explicit messages from guys. And early on, my boss told me to close my DMs, and I did. And that's been good for my mental health. I actually recommend that everybody close their DMs. And if people need to get in touch with you, you can give them like an email that they can use. In my instance, people might actually need to get in touch with me. And I'm sure it's a little bit similar for you. If people want to have you on or whatever, they have to kind of have a way to get a hold of you. But for most normal people, I feel like you're really going to benefit from closing your DMs and really carefully choosing who you talk to and who you let talk to you. I don't know. That might sound a little bit like stodgy, but I really think that the internet comes at you fast enough that you need to be a little prepared and make sure that nobody's going to be blowing up your time.
Do you get a lot of people asking you like what your relationship status is?
I get people who are disappointed that I'm married, and I'm never entirely sure about that, because I'm like, I don't view myself as being very attractive. I care more about what I think and what I believe than how I look, which I think is useful, because they say that women age like milk. And I'm sometimes inclined to agree.
Wait, are we talking organic milk? Which can last up to a month.
It depends on the lady, I guess. But it's like, we kind of do. And I feel like a lot of women place too much emphasis on how they look. And then when they hit a certain age, they start to lose their minds, because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't look like I used to. So I've always thought that if you're developing what you believe and what you think, that you're going to age a lot more gracefully, and you're going to be okay with getting older. I view getting older as a good thing, because the alternative is literally dying. So it's like, yeah, I'll I'll take some of that aging over the actual, death.
Lydia, I was holding back my shocked reaction, but I had no idea you were married. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just, and I don't know, like, why it should matter. But you know what? It's kind of cool and refreshing, because sometimes I feel like, oh, do I need to be putting more of my relationship out there? People kind of know me for my comedy and the conversations I'm having with people who I think need to be elevated and hear
Right.
more from. And that's actually pretty cool that you're not like, I wonder if it's more of an expectation culturally from women, or even just socially, like, I am my relationship. Boom. It's every profile picture is me and my family. And I think I was stuck in this hole of looking at, because I think I have a 20-year high school reunion coming up, and I'm just looking at everybody's photos just to see if people are even recognizable. And I'm like, oh, all these women with their family, husband. I'm like, oh, like, my shit is all just me. Like,
yeah, I don't
yeah.
view that as a bad thing. There are some people who are selfish and exclusive of their partner, but this kind of lines up with what I think about aging, because I feel like if you're focused on what you believe and what you think, then you're not gonna need to tell everyone, oh, I have like this high profile marriage or whatever. So my spouse is very private as well. He really doesn't want to be in the public eye, so I really try to respect that. I'm like, you know what? I completely get it with all the big tech, not just censorship, but like all the data mining and everything. You can lose all your information. They can learn everything about you. And I'm like, I don't really want that. I know that I have to deal with that a little bit because I am kind of in the public eye, but my spouse doesn't have to. And I'm going to try to keep it that way. But yeah, I'm married. I've been married for almost a decade. And it's a very maturing process, but he's been gone for a lot of that time because he was in school for vet medicine. Now he has his DVO. Yeah, so he takes good care of our kitty. Now he's getting his licensure here in the U.S., and he'll be ready to hit the ground running really soon. I'm excited that life's like officially starting.
Cool. Now I know who to hit up for when I need ivermectin.
Right, exactly. He's like, there's so many reasons people shouldn't take horse medicine. And somebody gave a good explanation on my Twitter, because I was like, well, if it is the same active ingredient, but someone on Twitter was like, okay, so there's different inactive ingredients, there's different doses. They don't test this stuff for humans. I'm like, yeah, that I couldn't recommend anybody take anything for an animal. That's something that you only do in like a super end of the world pinch bind. If you got nothing else, then you could take an antibiotic for an animal. But
well, that's just the thing, is that the Nobel Prize was won for its uses in humans, yet
right.
You would never know that from looking at the mainstream media, because they make it sound like anyone who's even curious about ivermectin is insane. And why would you take a horse medicine? Like, I haven't seen anywhere even the idea that there's a human version of this, but they're so quick to shame you and to make you feel dumb for considering it, and dumb for even asking questions.
Yeah, and I do agree. I think you guys should all know, your whole audience probably knows that I have huge problems with the media, because I'm very much on the same wavelength as my boss, Tim Pool, who's constantly whining about the media with good reason. I think that somebody needs to be out there to complain about it, to hold it to account. I do have huge issues with the media, and two things can be true at once. So I think that the media has huge issues. I think that they're crapping all over ivermectin without real good reason and without real good evidence. But I hate the idea of people taking medicine that was designed for animals. And in Africa, they didn't give those people horse ivermectin. They gave them ivermectin designed for humans, which is as it should be. So there are two problems here. First is the media mocking anyone for thinking that it might be helpful. Who knows? Might be helpful. There are studies that say it is. There are studies that say it's not. I am inclined to think that maybe they're trying to keep it down because they have interests with like Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. And I don't like feeling that way. That is entirely possible. But at the same time, you shouldn't take medicine that's designed for horses. You definitely shouldn't go to Tractor Supply. If you need some, you should try to get a hold of the human form. So there you go. Two things are true at once. I'm sure that Joe Rogan took the human form of ivermectin. He's not going to turn into a horse.
Unless he also had worms, then, it's two birds, one stone.
He needed it. Yeah, it's interesting to me too, because ivermectin is for parasites. And coronavirus is not a parasite. So I don't know. That's interesting. I would just want to hear more, and I just don't want people to take animal medicine.
Is it because, well, probably a couple reasons. It's meant for, animals that weigh much more than us.
Right.
So however, the average person probably is not going to be able to figure out how much they need to take. Or is it, and also then there's less medicine for animals.
That's true too. So there was a lady who commented on my Twitter, and she was like, there are coronaviruses that animals get. Please don't take the vaccines for the animals because I actually need them for my goats. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. If everybody's flocking to get this medicine that animals actually need, we don't really want that either, right? We want everyone to do well. We want all the animals to be okay. I'm not entirely sure what people think ivermectin is going to provide to them. I don't know if they think it's going to be like a preventive measure. That's possible. If that's the case, they should find a doctor who supports that view, or try to talk to a real doctor that they trust about that. I was a little bit concerned because a lot of the comments I was seeing on my Twitter about ivermectin was that doctors are like in Big Pharma's pocket. And I would really just emphasize that people need to find a doctor that they trust. Like I have, I'm going to get a general practitioner here in September. Hopefully I like him. But I have a neurologist that I really trust. I've been going to him for almost a year now, and I believe what he says, and he'll tell me. I asked him about diet one time, and he's like, I don't really know about that. And I was like, okay, thank you for telling me that you haven't really researched that. That's fine. That's good. I would just say find a doctor you trust, like you really have good rapport with, and then try and get their feelings on that. And if they think that you need ivermectin to try and prevent COVID, that's something they can prescribe, prescribe for.
Yeah.
Thing. And then you can go and get it like from the pharmacy and do it the right way. But that's my only 2 cents. But everyone was giving me a hard time, and I was like, no, we're not going to eat horse paste. I don't think that's necessary. We're not a third world country, and even there they didn't eat the animal form, so we're okay.
When you really kind of go to the heart of it, it comes down to, I think, shame. Like shame is such a powerful motivator, and as soon as you say, oh well, this medicine is associated with animals, like you don't want to be taking an animal medicine, do you? And it's like people are so quick to be like, but like look at all the chemicals, everything in our makeup, so much is tested on animals that we also consume. I also eat carrots. I also,
right.
I love a good pellet. No. So I don't know. It's a lot of it is like shame too. Like people are afraid of feeling dumb.
Yes. Yeah. That's actually a huge motivator. I actually think that's a huge reason that people won't walk back their views once it's proven that they're wrong. Cause I get that feeling sometimes too. I'm like, crap, I was wrong about that. And now I feel dumb about it. So instead of tweaking my view, I'm going to argue. I'm going to double down. It's easier. That way I can look like I was right. Maybe I convince other people that I was right all along, and they'll just leave me alone or forget about it. That's not the way to go. And this is actually something that Tim talked about last night. He was like, I'll change my views if I find new evidence that says otherwise. And we were talking about ibuprofen, and I was like, I asked my husband, because he's a vet. I was like, is ibuprofen something that you can give to dogs? Because I want to be sure. Like, I don't want to tell people that you can give your animals something that you can't. Because, again, we're not doctors, and I don't want to be prescribing anything. But he was like, ibuprofen's not good for dogs. One of the medicines that people take that animals also take is Benadryl. I was like, okay, yeah, Benadryl, it makes them sleepy. It's the same for humans. It helps with allergies. And I guess animals get different doses of opiates, but they also do like the morphines and stuff that humans do. So that's good to know too. But I wouldn't recommend giving your dog anything without asking the vet. Just like I wouldn't recommend taking any kind of medicine like that without talking to your doctor, just because there are interactions that we don't know about. And there are chemistry factors that we don't know about either. And I think people look at it and it looks relatively straightforward, but some things about medicine, counterintuitive, and you shouldn't mix certain things and you shouldn't do certain things unless you know exactly what you're doing. But yeah, a lot of that I think is that pride, that fear of being wrong. But I think when it comes to horse paste, it's okay to be a little circumspect and say, you know what? maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe we should recommend, I don't know if you feel like recommending medicine for people. Maybe we should recommend human ivermectin, at least as something that people can talk to their doctors about. I think that would be a good way to walk that back a little bit without being like, oh gosh, I was dumb. Because saying that, nobody can say that. That's hard. That's really hard. And for the media to make you feel like you're dumb, that puts you on the defensive and it makes you dislike them intensely and each other, people who call you out on it. So I feel like if we could stop calling each other dumb, we can make some serious progress, but I don't think we're there yet.
And there appears to be such a double standard on who is allowed to update their views given more information. Like you look at someone like Fauci, who is very hard for me to trust just knowing his history, but no one gives, the mainstream media doesn't seem to give him much shit for being like, oh, well, you know, my views have changed given more information. It's being updated all the time. It's hard to know if you can trust him, what he says, even with the most updated information, because anyone with half a brain can see like what his motivation is.
Yeah, that's not good. I really wish, this is one of the ideas that I've been kind of developing over the last few weeks. I wish that the government had been super straightforward with us and just told us this is a new disease. And actually, you know what? Donald Trump was actually kind of good about this because he said stuff like, this is a new thing. It might get bigger. It might not get bigger. I remember him saying that because I was like, he's 100% right. We have no idea how big this is going to be. And to be fair, remember those videos that we first saw out of China? Where
they were so scary.
That was
hanging onto their door frames.
Yes. Okay, so there's one where they were like being pulled backwards out of their apartments because the government wanted to cordon them off. But there was another one where people like passing out in the street, like they weren't able to breathe. They were like having seizures. We were like, what is this? So that was a little terrifying. So I feel like if our government had stood up then and been like, okay, we don't know what this is. We're going to do our best. Please bear with us because we're not going to know everything right out of the gate, obviously, since it is so brand new. But, you know, reassure people by saying we have our best people on it and we're just going to be straightforward. Because when I worked at the hospital, I used to look at the information about patients, and I used to be terrified about what would happen when social justice came to medicine. That deeply concerned me. And I remember there was one training. You do continuing educations at the hospital. If you work in literally any field, you're going to be constantly updating your knowledge for what's new. And one of the continuing educations that we had was about obese patients. And I don't remember what was said exactly, but it was very much social justice, body positivity, healthy at every size. And I was like, I don't think that's the right way to deal with heavy patients. I mean, people might call me cold and heartless for thinking that, but there is a very important thing to keep in mind, and something that I noticed when I was about 10. I noticed that feminism pushed for body positivity. And I thought, why are they doing this? Because this literally means that women are going to die younger. If you care about women, if you are actually for women's rights and women doing well in the world and making their best selves, then you need to encourage them to be healthy size, not bulimic, not anorexic, but healthy. Maybe well padded, that's fine. Although
padded.
Admittedly, Americans don't really know what overweight looks like. Right now, I'm overweight. I'm probably about 20 pounds heavier than I should be, but I'm okay with this. I don't even mind because my round face is not who I actually am, and it can change over the course of a few months, so I'm not too worried about it. I do want to be healthy, though. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on what I'm eating. I'm going to focus on what I'm doing and see if I can fix this. Plus, then you have that sense of accomplishment. I lost and I maintained weight loss. I actually lost about 50 pounds and maintained it off for 5 years until they put me back on steroids.
Oh, man.
Awesome. It's like a blimp. That's good times. But I really do believe that we can't talk about issues like weight, and it's literally actually killing us because we care more about feelings.
Oh yeah, I would be lying if I say I'm not getting a little bit more of a podcast body than I would like, but like I have a plan. I have like I'm at the outer edge of like what I'm okay with. It's like, okay, because if it gets more than this, I have to start buying a different size, and you just don't feel good in your own skin. But like it's also, that's kind of an indication like things have been going really well. I'm busier, and it's, you know, I just have to make more time to move around. But I see what you're saying about because I noticed the body positivity movement beginning as well. And I was like, well, if you're somebody who believes in maybe the state wanting to take over, and I had a conversation with Jack Murphy about this, like if the state wants to be your daddy and they are fixated on telling you how toxic masculinity is and encouraging women to leave their marriages, and we look at how many single moms there are, so it's like you have the powers that be that want men kind of weakened and separated. Could these be the same powers that be that maybe want women to ignore being overweight and unhealthy, right? Which might lead them to die sooner, which might leave a bunch of kids available to be scooped up.
Children. Yeah. Yep. That's actually interesting. That's taking it a little farther than I thought through, but I think you might be right. And one of the things that I've been observing, kind of a commonality between all the different things that are going on right now, is that I feel like we're being systematically weakened. And I'm not sure if it's by China or if it's by our own doing, or possibly a little bit of both. Maybe this is a weakness that China saw and they descended in and they're like, oh, here's our chance. This is our biggest competitor. We're going to find a way to undercut them. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to do information wars. We're going to tell them that men are bad. We're going to tell them that men should be more like women. We're going to tell women that they should be more like men, which has always offended me. I don't want to be a second-rate man. I want to be a strong woman. You know?
I don't know how to work a remote control.
Yes, exactly.
Don't want to know.
Exactly. I'm going to leave that for the man. Like I tried to assemble all this stuff before my husband came back and it's all like falling apart. And I was like, that's your job. I'm going to have you do that now that you're back. And he's definitely laughed at some of my projects, but I don't care. I did them on my own. But I was like, no, I'm not a man. I'm not going to do man stuff. And you're not going to tell me that that's what I should do, because I can tell I like being a woman. And I can tell that that's what I'm better at doing than at trying to be a guy. And the fact that they're trying to make men more like women and women more like men is such a sign to me that something is wrong. Like, why are we doing that? Seriously, there's no benefit to either gender by doing that. The most beautiful thing in the world is a male and a female couple in partnership who are doing what they're supposed to do. And you'll know when you see them because it's very uplifting. And it's like they know exactly what they're supposed to do. And they're pulling their weight. And their kids are benefiting. And the world around them is benefiting from it. That's becoming really rare. But I think that if we could kind of incentivize people to do that, make them realize it's a good thing. I don't know if millennials now think that being in like a married relationship is boring. But it's not. It's very fulfilling and it's very challenging, and it forces you to make sacrifices that you wouldn't otherwise. I don't have kids yet, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there, most likely. But that's a whole other set of sacrifices you have to make. And it's like, if you want to be a good person, you need to not constantly be putting yourself first. I do think that's a form of the weakening.
Right. And anyone who's been in a long-term relationship knows that that person is a mirror. They're constantly holding up a mirror to you, somebody who is like letting you know about your patterns and vice versa. And like, hey, you're getting in your own way a little bit. Hey, like you have, you have these coping mechanisms that maybe aren't suiting you anymore. And that's the thing. I think that's why, and you can grow so much in a relation, in a monogamous, not even monogamous, but like a partner relationship,
right?
Like whether you're having sex with other people or not. But if you have that one partner, but what does culture encourage us to do? Never settle. That getting that, like, you know, marrying somebody or being with the same person is considered settling, or supposed to like continually be hooking up and looking for this perfect person all the while. And like, there's something great about being single because you can always make that great first impression over and over again. And you can, and like that part you're going to crush. Like, you're not going to have to be like, well, the ugly part of me, well, like, you don't want to see me come 6 months because that's when I'm going to run into this issue, or that's,
right.
You know.
I view that as being a huge upside. Oh, hi, little buddy. Who's this?
Oh, this is Waffles.
Oh my gosh, you named him Waffles. That's a great name. I wanted Luke Rudkowski to name their German Shepherd Waffles.
Oh, she is like literally an ankle biter. She bites everything. Like, she'll bite the socks off my feet, and
she's always there for you.
No, she's so good. But I love Muffin also. There's 3 dogs now in this house. So
are they all named after like baked goods?
Yes. Yeah. Cookie, Muffin, and Waffles. Waffles was originally Brandi, but someone thought that was too much of a stripper name.
A little bit, maybe. It's also
Yeah.
an alcoholic name. So I think Waffles is a good, family-friendly, soft, squishy name.
She's very squishy.
Squishy.
She's derpy. She's like not the smartest, but
so is my cat. He's very much the same. He likes to eat salad for some reason.
Aww.
Yeah, he's aggressively affectionate, which is why he's in the other room. I would love to show everyone him, but he also likes to walk across my laptop, so we won't bring him out.
Show us your cat, Lyds. No.
Oh gosh. I might bring him out halfway through if he's gonna be. We'll see what he decides to do. But yeah, being in a partnership, I think that people don't like the idea of being held accountable because it's challenging. And I have friends who hold me accountable who are really good about that. And they're like, well, you do this. And I was like, I do. I didn't realize that I did that. And they're like, yeah, I've seen you do it before, like multiple times. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to try to stop doing that. But it's so great to have that outside perspective and to take it seriously enough that you're not going to get offended by that. But I feel like everyone gets offended. It's the age-old complaint at this point. Everyone gets offended by everything. That's not a good way to run your relationships. That's another thing that's really going to weaken you because you can't get offended. I can't get offended if people tell me that I'm getting round. If it means that I need to pay attention to how much I eat and how much I move, I need to view that as, even if it hurts my feelings at the time, I need to view that as a net positive because someone cares about me. And they're actually going to be like, hey, you should be healthy. I want you to be healthy. I want you to make sure that you're in the weight range that's best for you, good for your joints and your brain and everything. So, but we don't like that. That's unpleasant.
Yeah. And it's the thing is like the government doesn't love you. Like they're not going to, they don't want you to get stronger and better. It's almost like they want to weaken the strongest people. And what's the best way to weaken men? Like tell them they're toxic and everything they do is wrong and they're responsible for the worst parts of history, and then take the women they might be attracted to and try to convince them to, I don't know,
that they don't need men.
Yeah.
To convince a group, to convince a gender that they don't need another gender, I think is an egregious sin. That makes me really upset because we work so well together. And if you look at the weaknesses men have and the weaknesses women have, and you compare them, you're like, well, it's almost like we perfectly match each other because women tend to be too agreeable. Men can be too disagreeable. You know, men can be too rough. Women can be too gentle. Women emphasize safety. Men emphasize freedom. Like, you need a balance. In your own country, you can see how much you need that balance. And there is this working theory that what we're seeing right now with all this super protectionism and all this really careful safeguarding of health and everything is very much a sign of political feminine political pathology.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. That is totally it.
Because we're not as much wading into full-on wars anymore, but we are suffering from too much security, which is something that our founding fathers warned us about. Like anybody who sacrifices freedom for security will deserve neither and lose both, I think is what they said. It was kind of cutting. They were like, you don't deserve either and you're not going to get either. You're going to lose both of them. So I think they were right. And I think that they recognize the potential of trying to. One of the things I've noticed about living in like a liberal democracy is that it contains some of the seeds of its own demise. I don't know if I noticed that too, but we're tolerant and we'll tolerate ideas that will undercut us. And we foster free speech. And sometimes free speech will convince people that free speech is a bad thing. So it's something that I think the founding fathers were aware of when they said things like, you need to not try to be too secure and too safe. You need to be okay with a little bit of danger. And more than that, you need to be prepared to tackle it. So I think that we know now that we're not ready to tackle danger. So we're just kind of going to hide away. And that's not workable. That's not tenable for the long term. So
I wonder if that sort of masculinity in politics or lack thereof was one of the reasons why people liked Trump so much and really couldn't explain why. We're like, ooh, we got this burst 4 years of like a man. A real man.
Absolutely.
And then they're like, let's stamp that out right away.
Well,
I want to I'm gonna get to some of these super chats before I forget them. I don't know if Candace Horbox is still in the chat. Shout out to Candace. She has a great show. Matthew Hammond, can we get Ari Hassanaj who is putting up the posters at NYC businesses saying they do not discriminate on vax staff? Yes, I'm having him on tomorrow at some point.
Good for you. That's exciting.
I was like, I don't know this person, but I am so fired up about this cause.
Someone tweeted, I think he tweeted at my boss, and I actually sent it to my boss, and I was like, yo, just so you know, this is the guy, because Tim shared the video of them going around. I think that's great. I love the idea of if you go around and like give people an easy way to get involved,
yes,
to do it. I think that's great. That's what we need. We need more people who are willing to do that. It's pretty cool.
It's really smart because the things he was printing out look official, and it's not just about the old jabberoonie. From Josh, oh my gosh, I've seen fathers screaming and begging at the doors of abortion clinics not to kill their child. Imagine how it destroys them. Okay, this is something we were planning to cover anyway. Because I know, Lydia, you had some hot takes recently about the topic.
I have apparently very hot takes on abortion. I was raised in a conservative house, but I have 100% made being pro-life my hill to die on because I think it is very important. I love and appreciate the idea of standing up for people who don't have anyone to speak for them. And I think that you can't find anybody who is more voiceless than someone who literally, doesn't have a voice box or can't form any kind of words. So the concept of speaking up for unborn people is really positive in the current culture. It's also extremely rare. What I ended up concluding about abortion is that it is a cultural problem. And like you said about, like Josh said about fathers at the doors of abortion clinics, that really breaks my heart. But it hits home that it is 100% something that we have to change from the ground up. So you were saying earlier more than once that the government does not love you and the government is not your daddy. This is 100% true. That means that you don't change from the top down. And one of the things I love about my job is that I feel like we're working from the bottom up. We're talking to people right in their living rooms after work or whatever, and we're trying to make them feel like they're not alone. And to me, that is changing culture and trying to make a positive difference in the culture. And I know that almost nobody agrees with me on my views, but a lot of people have disagreed on views like this in the past. Slavery springs to mind for sure. And they believed that slaves were property of the owners. And now people believe that babies are property of their mothers. And this is, again, not technically correct. It's just the current view. And I think that history will vindicate me for sure. But in the meantime, I just will keep working on trying to work from the ground up and trying to persuade people and giving them arguments that they can use against it. Because I don't want anyone to feel unprepared when they go into these conversations. I want you to know everything there is to know because I have done my homework. And if I'd done my homework and it showed me that babies weren't really humans at conception or anything like that, you better believe that I'd be fully pro-choice because it doesn't really make sense if they're not separate humans from conception. But that's what I've concluded. And hopefully the culture will change for the positive and fathers will end up crying outside of abortion clinics because that is horrible.
And also, I feel like the culture has, up until very recently, convinced me like, oh, like men. Right? It's like everything I've been fed over the years. Like most guys, oops, I just wanted to eat it and beat it. I just wanted to and then it's part of this mentality that feeds feminism and like, oh wow, men don't care about me. Like I had a spicy tweet too, I think it was something along the lines of like, if women picked sex partners as if they were picking the father of their child, you would probably pick better. And men who weren't picked would probably go, oh, I guess I need to step it up and get a job and like move out of my parents' house and like be more of a catch, right? And that's the thing is like we all have slipped and just I'm here. Okay, so we've all slipped and right. People who are hot will always get banged. But the idea if I think it should be a conversation earlier, like if you're a girl, do you want kids? Like, because if you do, don't waste like 10 to 15 years having
Don't
fun.
waste time. Yeah, don't waste time. I can't emphasize that enough. And this is something that the culture makes us think that we can do. They'll tell you that you can work and that you can have it all. And then if you decide you want to have kids later, you can freeze your eggs or whatever. You don't know if that's going to work. The best way to do it is to do it the way that humans have always done it, is to be serious about your relationships right out of the gate and to treat everyone that you date as a potential marriage partner. And one of the things I've always done that people may not know about me, which shouldn't really surprise anyone, but I've always been exceedingly careful about doing things like taking birth control. And I think that every woman would benefit from taking that step, from thinking literally like 2 weeks in the future, right? And being like, okay, I don't have a baby. I can't have a baby right now. Can't afford it. I got a lot to do between now and then. Cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get an IUD. I'm going to be on the pill. I'm going to make sure that my partner uses whatever prophylactic they want to use. We're not thinking that far ahead. And I think that women have really come to view abortion as a form of birth control. And I think that it is fundamentally different. And this is something that Jen Psaki mentioned. She's like, this is a very difficult decision. Why? Why is it a difficult decision if you don't think that that is a little human life inside you? That should be like taking, the morning after pill, which I'm not sure what I think about that yet, since I do believe that humans are, alive from conception. But it shouldn't be any different from like making sure that you don't get pregnant to have an abortion, but it's not. And everybody realizes that. And that means that everybody should think deeply about what they're doing. I think part of the problem is that people just don't plan ahead at all anymore. They don't think past being the life of the party, which is going to bite us down the road for sure. And we're already seeing that.
Yeah. And just the women that I know over the years who've had abortions, like luckily I was never even put in a position to have to make that choice, because I honestly think you don't even know where you stand till you're there.
You don't know.
But it's horrible. I know women who have really wanted children that have had to get one because the guy they were with, like that was the moment they realized the guy wasn't serious about them.
Man.
And I'm just like, imagine really wanting kids and you have to, in your mid 30s, get an abortion because this guy's like, what? Yeah, you should really do that. And she moved off like by herself, moved back to Texas, was like, I guess I'm going to try to do this on my own. It was just really sad. And as part of my tweet, I was saying like, abortion kind of I said allows, but I guess what I meant was abortion kind of encourages women to waste time with guys that maybe are not really worth it. Because if you have like you could just push a garbage disposal. That's a horrible way to put it, but like
a pretty bad metaphor, but we'll go with it.
You think of it like it's like this willy-nilly, no big deal thing. Oh, it's healthcare. Like, I don't think it's healthcare. I think this is something that you could have
different. First of all, it's something you could have avoided. And second of all, to think of it as nothing more than something like flushing a toilet. If that is the case, then Jen Psaki wouldn't be saying it's a difficult decision. As far as I'm concerned, that's just the bottom line. Everyone knows it's a difficult position. Even Hillary Clinton, she's known for saying it should be safe, legal, and rare. Why should it be rare? Why should it be rare? If it's just like having a tumor removed, then it should be great for the mother. It should be rare because you know that it's wrong. I'm sorry, on some level, you have to be like, oh, there really can't be anywhere else that a human comes into existence, if not conception, because there's nothing during pregnancy. You start the ball rolling, and then the ball is rolling for the next 9 months, for the next, however many years. And if you remove the ball being started rolling, cool, good for you. If you don't want to have kids, that's a way to deal with that problem, instead of starting the ball rolling and be like, oh, holy crap, I got to stop this. I got to find a way to make this not happen. But yeah, I don't know. That is a deep cultural issue, and that gets right to our relationships, and it goes into feminism, and it's very complicated, which is why I think that we haven't agreed yet. So hopefully we'll...
Right. If you don't value your relationships with the opposite sex and you don't value that time together, then it's more likely you're not going to value the life that's created out of that.
Right, unfortunately.
And the easier it's going to be for you to be like, all right, yeah, let's take, I hate that people call it take care of it. It's literally the opposite. You're literally not taking care of it.
I wouldn't call it that. It's a little bit like those studies that say that people who eat avocados are going to live longer. That's not necessarily true. It's possible. In fact, what I think is probable is that the type of person who wants to eat an avocado for their health is going to be the type of person who's taking other steps to not be unhealthy and die early. Just like I think that someone who chooses to have an abortion is probably also the kind of person who's living what we used to call in the hospital high-risk lifestyle, whether that means drugs or just being promiscuous or not taking their relationships seriously. Very sad. That is the whole culture. The whole culture is like that, this immediate gratification, convenience, instant hookup type thing. Distressing. But trying to solve the problem of abortion would mean solving like 58 other problems. So hopefully we can get there. But
right, because in order to get on the same footing, we have to have the same value system.
Right. And we have to think that something like being married is good. We have to think that having kids is good. We have to think that children are a blessing. And we have to think that we're up to raising them, which means the economy needs to be good. We can't be drowning in student loan debt. Like, I understand everything that comes into this. I had a conversation with my mom, who's she's, I wouldn't say old fashioned, but she's definitely conservative, way more conservative and way more religious. And she was like, I just don't understand why girls don't want to stay at home with their families. And it was a very compassionate comment. And I was touched, but I was like, Mom, we can't. We really can't. Like, we have to worry about all this stuff. Even now, I mean, wages are going up, but I was commenting to my husband just the other day. I was like, man, I wish I could just make, $40,000, $30,000 a year and be fine and have everything be taken care of. As far as I'm concerned, that would be better. And I think that's kind of what, like, you're approximately my age. You're a little bit older than me. But I think that's what our parents were raised with, was being able to go out without a college degree and earn this kind of living that enabled mom to stay home and take care of kids. And I think that was better. I'm really sorry we've lost that. I feel like the whole structure is just a house of cards, honestly. It's not the way it should be. But.
Right. Like, you need to have two incomes just to be able to afford childcare. But wait,
right.
If one, like, that's something recently my brother and his wife, they realized, like, hey, it would make more sense for actually my brother to stay home with the kids. And he's been doing that for about a year, which I never, if you had told me when we were little, like growing up, like which of the kids is going to quit their job to stay home with the kids? Oh God. Like,
I think that's great.
Yeah.
That's great, though, because
he's such a good dad.
The other thing we're finding is that you don't want to give your kids over to these people. Did you see that Project Veritas thing with the actual?
Yeah, the whistleblower and the teacher. That seemed not even real. I was like, is this a cartoon?
Yeah,
like, is
stereotype in person. He had the tattoo. He had Ingsoc from 1984 tattooed on his left arm. Ingsoc is I think it's the form of socialism that the party, the evil, horrible dystopian party uses in the dystopian novel 1984. He loved it. He had it tattooed on him. And I was like,
so he's the poster boy. Yeah.
Literally the poster boy. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to turn all these little kids into revolutionaries. Your brother did the right thing. I think staying home with the kids for sure. And hopefully being able to keep those teachers accountable, because holy shit.
Yeah, they're still pretty young. I think they're like 4 and 2.
Aww.
Yeah, but I know he wanted to, like, I know that our childhood had, and I know that he wants to do a better job than my dad did. So I think he's such a good dad. I missed him so much. All right. I want to make sure I don't miss all these super chats. Derailed with correct. I can't pronounce that. Question for both ladies. Would either of you try to get Jason Stapleton on your shows to discuss the Nomad Network? I haven't heard of the Nomad Network.
I'll have to look him up, see if he's interesting, and then I can pitch him to the boss.
We have to see if he's interesting, Derailed.
We do. We have to vet him. It's part of our job. It's part of my job.
Sunny James. I'm an alcoholic and my pit is named Brandi. She's 13 and dying. What breed is kid friendly and a good guard dog? Lyds, your husband is a vet. Any suggestions?
A good guard dog and good with kids? That's kind of a tricky combination. I think
maybe a golden doodle.
Yeah, I was going to say something golden, like maybe a lab. Because I know that they're good guards and that they really, I would say a mutt, honestly. They go to the shelter and see what dog vibes with with your kids for sure. I'm sorry
Yeah.
about Wendy.
Okay, from Furby Slayer, liberalism tolerated the communist takeover of academia. Feminism is taking over entertainment. Conserving the original values is more important.
I'm inclined to agree, but one of my biggest bones to pick with conservatives is that they say they're conserving things and all they're doing is saying, okay, in 10 years we'll get to it. We'll be fine with all this in 10 years. Just give it time. They got watches, we got time or whatever. Yeah, Democrats will outweigh you. Progressives will outweigh you. They'll just hang in there until you're okay with their views.
Ooh.
We need to have our own ideas and push back that way. We do both of those things. It's going to be hard, but we can do it.
David Ho, please have detrans such as Waffling Willow on. Oh, okay.
I'm not
I've
familiar.
heard of them.
I have heard of Buck Angel. I hear good things. We had Blair White on a little while ago. That was a really fun.
I love Blair.
It was fantastic. Really fantastic. Super role model. Like the people who have transitioned to women in good faith, honestly, let's be real. They work very hard at being women, and I respect that. They work way harder than I do.
It's expensive. Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it.
Okay, I'm going to make sure I got through all these super chats. I know that I missed one. This is a good one. Lydia, will you marry me?
No, I will not marry you.
Too late.
Too late.
Too late. You just missed out.
Yeah, just by 8 years.
I think back to if someone were telling me the things that I'm saying now. I mean, I never expected to be kind of more pro-life because I was, in my 20s. I just was like, I think if I really dig deep enough, I think it was because like I wasn't sort of really with anybody in college. Like I didn't have a serious boyfriend in college. And so it's when you don't have someone, it's so much easier to be like, burn it all down. And then as I got a little older, it became more, God, I don't make enough money to raise this kid on my own in the event that the guy leaves, which I believe he will, because I've been raised to believe that that's inevitable.
Right.
Which is so sad.
It's very sad. That sounds like a pattern too, because then you just go into a relationship and you're like, why do I care? You're going to leave anyway, and then it becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're like, well, why should I stick around? You think I'm going to leave anyway. You don't give me the benefit of the doubt. So deep issues.
I have deep issues. 828 Nate, love you both. No simp here, just a fan. Have fun in Vegas, Chrissy.
Yes, have fun on your tour. That sounds like fun.
I am excited. Oh, here we go. Okay, here's one I missed before. From Bionic Belly Button. People that are hot will always get banged. Chrissie Mayr 2021. Seriously, though, you are awesome. It's so true.
It's true.
It's what you said before. You're like, most women who are not a 10 don't have something like they don't have the luxury of being crazy. And I was like, yes, oh my God. I wanted to like shout it.
Smart girls who aren't a 10 realize that there is a limit to how crazy they can be. And it's true. I'm sorry. You got to be a little humble. You have to be like, okay, there's only so much I can get away with. And if you're with the right person, you're not going to be able to get away with a lot. Like there's a little bit of wiggle room there, but it's like, nah, they're gonna call you on your bullshit, which is exactly how it should be.
Yeah, and I've interviewed and met like hot women who are 10s who are crazy, and they're not happier for it. Like,
no, they don't seem happier. I've never been jealous. I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you're pretty, good for you, but I don't know. It's okay.
Enjoy it while you can, bitch. No. Steven Suarez. Yeah. I'm thinking of a Lydia t-shirt design where she's piloting a helicopter and the captain is helicopter rides. What?
I love it. So are we going to hell? Are we coming out of hell? Are we throwing people? I don't know what the plan is here, but I can get on board with that.
Oh, I like it. Okay, so it's like an inside jerk. All right, did I get it all? I think I did. I think I got, wait a second. Ron Martin, thank you for the super chat. I'm scrolling through these things, scroll through, and then they're out of my life forever. Okay, and one more from TFC. When will either of you have Nerdrotic on? His story is fascinating. I had Gary on a couple months back. He's great. I will have him on again.
Awesome. Sounds like a guest.
He owned a comic book shop in California. And now he does an awesome podcast, and he is so great at like pointing out kind of like how Hollywood and and fandom and comic books, DC, Marvel, all that has like really bent the knee to the woke agenda, and he's good at pointing that out.
Sad. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. All right, one more from George Habib with AED dollars. People give heat to Arabs, Jews, Koreans, etc. for forming their own communities in the West, but how could they not with the cultural erosion around?
That's a fair point. If you can build a strong community, but the secret about the US and the magic of living in America is that it matters less where you're from, and it matters more the fact that you're an American and everybody can come together and be cohesive. Unfortunately, I do think that we're losing that, which makes me very sad. I worry about the future, but I don't know how to fix it. So I do sympathize with wanting to make your own communities.
Yeah. Sonny James, I wasn't accepted to the rule. My husband is very hot and dedicated, and I'm a fat Italian that shaves her mustache. However, exceptions don't make rules. Well, at least you're shaving.
I'm happy for her. She sounds like she's in a good place. I appreciate that.
You know why? I bet Sonny can cook. I feel like
yeah, it's Italians, man. They know
that's the deal maker right there. In hot water, ADV China on TimCast. When Lewis Rossman, Cumia. Oh yeah, Cumia would be good to have.
Yeah, would be interesting. I have invited. Okay, so this is what I run into constantly. I don't know if you guys know what goes on behind the scenes, but I genuinely feel like I've hit every single person on Twitter up at least once. Whether I have to go through and get an email or if I have to find somebody that they follow who can hook me up with talking to them. I've invited Louis Rossman. He seemed interested at the time, but I also know that he's really busy. And I'm hopeful that his store is doing well, because when I was hitting him up, he was facing like super problems with the state, with the city. I think it was in New York City.
Wow.
Yeah. So hopefully he will.
Yeah. Yeah. Lydia's working hard, guys. She's constantly reaching out.
7. I'm salaried, baby. I'm never off the clock. So.
It was so funny. I saw your tweet about like the Taliban, like the Taliban don't respect BLM. I'm like, what? They're painting over a George Floyd mural. How could they?
I was like, we're living in a simulation. That's all there is to it. Like the Babylon Bee needs to stop writing this simulation now. It's too much for me. That is crazy. I am genuinely glad that they painted over the George Floyd mural. I don't think that was fitting in a fucking Middle Eastern country. You can't, and this is something we've talked about on the show. You don't just walk into another country and say, hey, we're here. You're going to do exactly what we do. Those people are not the same as you. We are all human, and that's fine. But they have deep, serious cultural differences with us that I can respect and appreciate. I don't like all of them. Some of them are very horrible by any standards, but you can't just waltz in and be like, you're going to do what we do now. That's never going to happen. So you need to be a little realistic. But US did not do that. So it's time for us to back away.
Okay, we have someone who is critical of Ian in the chat. Lyds, please fire Ian. He slows conversation and regresses the show. It's frustrating to watch as he struggles with basic English. Let's move past that. I like Ian.
I like Ian too, and I will tell you this right now. I do not fire or hire anyone at the company, even though I am, I think, the senior employee. And I would not want to. I don't want that responsibility. And I would never fire Ian in the first place, because we love Ian because he offers a point of view of somebody who's not as engaged with the news and current events as most of our audience is. And this is something that I feel like our audience needs to keep in mind, because not everyone lives in the world we live in. Like most of us are super on Twitter. All of us obviously are watching YouTube and engage with people like Tim Pool, which means that we forget sometimes that there are people outside our sphere, people who we are going to need to talk to. So if you take these ideas that you think are so wonderful and grandiose and you take them out into the regular world and you can't make like a normal person understand and appreciate them, you're never going to make any progress. You need to be able to go out to somebody who doesn't really run in your circle and be like, okay, this is what I think and this is why. And I think that you can watch Tim kind of break stuff down for Ian, and you can listen to Ian's questions and be like, okay, so this is what somebody who's not super in on Twitter and not super up with current events, although he has gotten, like, he's really gotten way more plugged in with current events since the show, since he became like the co-host. But no, we're not going to fire Ian. We really appreciate his input, and we try to keep things on track, but we also welcome his insights. So not firing.
The ability to to kind of put things in layman's terms and have that point of view that's outside of like the very plugged in circle. Like that's one of the reasons why I think Jack Murphy works so well, and probably why
Yeah.
you have him back so much, because he
Yes.
is just so good. He's like a teacher. I mean, like I know he used to work in education, but
he really is.
He's
yeah,
really great.
He gets along really well with both Tim and Ian, so he kind of bridges that divide, and he brings in a different perspective. When Tim and Ian just cannot see eye to eye, I'm like, they're just arguing in circles at this point. And I recognize that sometimes they do that, but that's a really great opportunity for whoever the guest is to be like, okay, well, here's a new perspective. And then both the guys can learn something new from that. So I view it as a very, like a good learning experience for everybody. I think it's a great thing. And I'm happy to have that voice. I'm concerned if we rule out the normal person's voice, we're just going to become like the left. We're just going to be an echo chamber full of people who only agree with us. And I do not want to be like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Alternative JK, what's your take on men being, quote, vulnerable?
I
don't know. It's vulnerable. It looks like vulnerability to others. I think I think the umbrella term is like honesty and being present.
Right.
And if you're there, if you're being present and honest with yourself and the people around you and who you love, sure, one offshoot of that could be vulnerability. It could also show its face in terms of like, I don't know, opening up more, talking more. It could also, maybe you cry more. Maybe you talk about your childhood more. Maybe it means like you're allowed to do the things that you think you're not supposed to do, like pursue your interests that maybe are not related to like making money for the family, or being free.
Vulnerability is so interesting to me because I feel like if you are in a relationship, this is just based on my experience with my brothers, father-in-law, brother-in-law, and spouse. If you're in a relationship where you feel that you can be honest and straightforward, you don't need to worry about being vulnerable. You know that you can just come out and be like, okay, well, this is what I think. This is kind of bothering me. And I know that I'm not crazy because X, Y, and Z, but it's really been giving me a hard time. And then it wouldn't be so much vulnerability as just being direct, straightforward, and knowing that you can talk to the people around you, whether that's your partner or your siblings. Like we have a sibling chat where we all talk about whatever it is we're going through. I don't know. I feel like vulnerable is such a taboo for guys because it does look like weakness.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious what the root word is, because I love root words like that. In fact, let me Google it real fast. I think that it is like a way of kind of making yourself weak, susceptible to physical or emotional attack or harm. Okay, so that's why guys would not want to do that.
Right. Wow.
That makes sense.
Like you're soft.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're not like strong and forthcoming and, a really brave leader or anything. So yeah, I don't see a huge benefit to men being vulnerable. I would see a huge benefit to them being upfront and being willing to share what they're thinking about life.
Right. And this is something I've really had to work on, is like when you're upfront and honest and you address things right away, then you don't give the issues time to sort of stew and putrefy and become a thing.
Right.
Then you don't have to dig it up and be vulnerable because you haven't spent as much time burying it down.
Exactly. That's a great point. That's something Jordan Peterson talks about. He talks about the dragon that you have to face before it gets too big. And he tells a story of like this little boy who sees a dragon that's small, and then his parents ignore it, and it grows so big that eventually their whole house is walking down the street on the back of this dragon that his parents refuse to acknowledge. And I was like, that's actually a really interesting analogy, because that's exactly what can happen if you ignore stuff. Don't procrastinate. If I had kids, I would emphasize not procrastinating. It's just procrastination is for plebs. Let's be real.
Yeah. Shoki reviews. Day, Miss. Maybe it's good day. Hey, Miss Lydia and Mayor. Hope your Wednesday is grand. Also, don't fire Ian. Just give him DMT and let him rant.
That sounds like a great bonus episode. I wish that DMT had a slightly more legal status, because that would be a fun thing to vlog. And I feel like that's something that he would enjoy and benefit from. And who knows? DMT seems interesting to me. I don't know.
It seems like a scary time to like, I've always been someone who's like, yeah, sure, try anything. But like, I just recently, a couple of comedians overdosed on like fent laced Coke. And you're just like, wow, like Coke is a pretty common fun time, whatever. I don't do it, but like party drug. And it's very scary.
Still dangerous, especially with fentanyl in it, which comes from China. All bad things, man. I'm telling you, it's a serious problem.
Okay, one more from Trinoculus P. Lydia is the name of my wife, and I chose if we ever had a little girl. Every Lydia I knew are amazing helpers. Oh, true.
Awesome. I love that. That's a really good like legacy to carry on. I have known of some Lydias who are feminists, so I've really been trying to like redeem my name. Like
I'm trying to make Lydia's great again.
That's right. Make Lydia's great again. It's my goal in life.
I had a friend. Yeah, I only knew one other Lydia from high school, but then she like lived in Italy for 10 years.
Lydia in Italy. I love it.
Yeah, we would joke around like we were in the same like environmental systems class in high school, and we would just kind of, I feel like we both were such charmers. That's why we got good grades. Like we would dick around and make jokes in the back of the room. And we'd be like, sweet. Yeah, we were sweet. I brought in a cake for Earth Day and like made this whole like production. I got everyone to sing Happy Earth Day, and it really sucked up most of the class.
That's smart. See, that's smarter than anything you'll learn in environmental sciences. I love that. You have to know how to schmooze people and get on their good side.
Oh yeah. All right, cool. I think I got them all.
Success.
I'm crushing it. Okay. Lydia, anything that you are kind of, want to explore, that you think you'll explore more on the show? Any upcoming guests that are on your dying to get them list? Anybody you're sort of like?
So we have one of my white whales. I'm really hoping he can come this coming Thursday on the 16th. Fingers crossed. He might be sick. I'm hoping the test comes back negative. This guest has been on my list ever since I started pulling guests for TimCast IRL. The other guests we're having on Tuesday, I will not spoil it. He's huge. He has a huge Twitter following. He's been making a tour of the U.S. He's been on all the big shows. I'm pretty sure you hung out with him at some point in the recent past, Chrissie.
Ooh,
I think I saw that picture on your Instagram. I'm not sure. If not, it'll be a surprise for you too. So tune in on Tuesday. We have a big old guest. It's going to be great, over from the UK. So.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I know.
I think you do know who it is. I guess we'll see.
Woo, that's exciting.
Right. Yeah.
From John Sakaki. Sorry, I'm butchering everyone's names. Since Joe Rogan is a horse now, is CNN gonna ride him? A. Jones was right to name his company InfoWars.
I think that every time I say information warfare, because that is 5th generational warfare, and Alex Jones is right. And I feel like I say that a lot too.
I've noticed and appreciate how careful Joe Rogan is with things that he says. Like he's got to be better researched and more careful than any podcaster out there.
Yeah, that's part of the reason we are like, talk to your doctor. Don't do anything crazy. Like you have to be really cautious about what you say. You can't even make jokes anymore, at least not on YouTube. But yeah, Joe does a really good job of being like, be careful. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
And I don't think he's compromised too much of how he really feels, like his raw emotion. I think he just knows how to phrase things in a way, like he knows, all right, everyone's out to get me. So
fuck it.
Slight adjustments, but also not compromising.
Yeah, meeting him in person was interesting because he's just exactly the same as he is on his show. That's just who he is. It's exactly the same with Tim, honestly. Tim is just the same on the show as he is in person. It's great.
Yeah.
Hard to argue with about movies. He likes to critique the movies after we watch them. I'm like, okay, all right, fine. Just let me enjoy the movie. Come on, man.
You don't like to analyze them too much?
Not too much. Like there was one we saw Shang-Li, I think it's called.
Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi. Yep.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
So I really enjoyed it, but Tim was breaking it down after the fact, and I was like, man, I would have just enjoyed it, but now I know all the ways it was wrong, so I'm sad.
Oh,
just look at it with an open mind, and I think you'll have fun. I enjoyed it for sure.
that's true. And I'm getting to know more like people who professionally review movies, and it's like I can get to that place of really picking it apart.
Right.
But then I have to remember it's like I'm the same person who really enjoyed Pitch Perfect. So
I mean, you should enjoy exactly what you enjoy. I don't think you should let anyone tell you otherwise.
okay, one last one from Shoki. Just letting y'all know you both do great work, and that I turn off Crowder to watch the live stream.
Hi, I'm very flattered by that. That's awesome. Steven Crowder is quite the he's just back from his heart surgery, so more power to him for sure. I think today was their first show back.
Oh,
Those
wow.
hardworking people. He's got the new babies, he's got the whole company relying on him, and he just had heart surgery. So hats off to Steven. But thank you for tuning in to IRL instead. I appreciate that. It's high
Yeah. I keep telling Dave Landau when it's just him, he needs to call it louder with Landau. But
yes,
I
love that. That's great.
Make a new graphic. Yeah, Lydia, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I'm sad I didn't get to meet your cat, but
do you want me to let him out and he can come say hi before I leave?
Okay.
I'll be right back. I'm coming. He's right here.
Well, you guys, here we go. We're gonna get to see Lydia's cat.
I just woke him up. This poor
Oh. Oh, hello.
And he knows it.
What's his name?
His name is Dip.
Hi, Dip. Like Fun Dip?
Yeah.
Oh. Hi, Dip. Dip. Oh, he's cute. Because it looks like you dipped one of his ears in paint.
Yes, I guess when they adopted this set of cats, when they brought him into the shelter, they named them all for dance moves. They had like tango and disco, and
that's cute.
Also, he's a little bit of a dipshit, but we love him anyway. And it looks like his ears dip, so it works on every level.
That's great to name cats after dance moves, because sachet,
yeah,
pirouette,
yeah. My friend has a dog named Polka, which is a cute dance name too. All dance names are cute. Waltz, yeah, little waltz. I've been putting drugs in his ears, so he kind of hates me, but there you go. He's pretty easygoing.
Cats are gonna cat, you know.
I know. You little jerk. Anyway, I'll turn him loose. There we go.
Lydia, thank you so much for coming on. It's always such a joy and a pleasure to talk to you. I appreciate your input so much.
Thanks for having me again.
The chat loves you.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for the super chats. Thanks for all your interesting comments and smart questions. Until next time.
Bye, guys.